Indiana. Hey, Ron, what's up?
Yeah, hey Tom, we can end this in 20 minutes.
How's that?
You get the Teamsters, you get all the unions together, and you say, this is it.
It's a solidarity
We're
strike,
stopping.
a nationwide solidarity strike with
Yes.
federal workers. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you know, we may be closer to that than we
about.
realize. There were 11 senior union members. I don't have a list. I've been looking around for a list who were arrested outside Mitch McConnell's office yesterday.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah, and so if this is radicalizing the senior, the management, the leadership of the unions across the United States, that's not an impossibility. I mean, that's the sort of, and then everybody goes into the streets and says, you know, enough already.
That's it.
Yeah.
Shuts it down. It take 20 minutes, Tom. 20 minutes. They can't. You know how much money would be lost to these corporations in 20 minutes?
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, Ron. I think you're absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great idea. Norman in Chicago. Hey, Norman, your thoughts?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah, you're on the air, Norman.
How you doing?
Good. Try to get your mouth as close to the microphone as possible. What's up?
I had a question regarding, no one's talking about the federal government employees and the money that's sitting in the banks. I mean, the banks right now are gaining interest. I mean, the banks have profit margins that are
huge,
higher than they've ever been in the last 10 years, I think.
Yeah, higher than they've ever been in history. Yes.
In history. So I want to know, how does that play when you have all these federal employees with the money still sitting in the bank? Does that profit margin or that interest for the 30 days, again, interest daily, where does that go?
Oh, it goes to the bank's profit. If you're a federal employee and you go to your bank and you say, I need a loan, they say, fine, you're going to pay us interest on that loan, and that interest is that's how the banks make their profits. So yeah,
well, I get that, but the money that would normally be out of the bank that's called your salary, what's happening with that money that's still sitting there?
Oh, that's still sitting in the federal treasury right now. I mean, in other words, what's happening to the money that's not being paid to the federal employees? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's still sitting in the federal government, and I don't know if the Treasury Department itself issues federal paychecks or if they use any of the big national banks. That's a question I don't know the answer to, but that's worth looking into, Norman. Thanks a lot for the call. Nicholas in San Cristobal, Mexico. Hey, Nicholas, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Oligarchs, the oligarchy in America. Did you read, possibly as much as a year ago, the New York Times article about why the growth of oligarchy in America, the oligarchs in America, will continue to grow regardless of whether we change the system or not? If not, it was rather disturbing.
Yeah.
It's all about inherited wealth now.
Oh, yeah.
The amounts of wealth are, in many instances, so enormous that they are now then divided up amongst the various children. And where there was one oligarch before, suddenly there are 3 and 4 with billions of dollars each under their belt. How that is going to affect the future of the United States.
Just the Walton family has more wealth than 40% of the world.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not yet divided. Keep in mind, all of those people have children, and down that line, those really hundreds of billions, when you total the Walton wealth up, will all be divided amongst several other people, and there it goes. It's almost a...
And these are the people, by the way, Nicholas, who tell us loudly through their think tanks that they fund and through the news networks and right-wing hate radio that they fund, tell us loudly that if people can get a welfare check, if people can get food stamps, they're not going to work. I mean, that's, this is what we heard from one of these billionaires in Davos this morning. What's going to happen to the two-worker family? I mean, this is going to hurt the economy. And their own children don't have to work, and their grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren will never have to work. And they're the ones sitting around going, oh, you got to give people incentives to work. Take away their health care. Take away their health insurance. Take away their food stamps. Get them scared out there. You got to do that. It's so important. While they're sitting on their billions and billions of dollars.
People have nothing to say about that. You take away food stamps and Walmart collapses, right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
And listen, as far as what do we do about it, what can be done about it, you have to do what was just done down here in Mexico. You're tired of hearing me talk about Mexico, but, you've got to upend the entire system. You cannot attack the system from the top. The top simply does not care. A very smart psychiatrist friend of mine who is basically the godfather of psychotherapy in New York City once told me, he said, never try to understand crazy. It will only drive you crazy. Well, we can't try to understand how the oligarchs think or don't think. They do not care about us. We are not even on the radar. They live an entirely different life. Nothing is going to change.
So how did this...
And we can't be distracted by the fight from the bottom up, if you will.
Yeah, I know. I absolutely agree, Nicholas. I think most Americans are not at all familiar with what happened in Mexico. Most Americans don't know about AMLO and who he is and what the deal is and why people elected him. You want to give us a 1-minute crash course?
Yes, thank you. AMLO is instituting a micro funding.
He's the new president.
Yes, he's starting a program of microfinancing for the people at the very bottom. Vegetable sellers in local markets, et cetera, they're going to get a $350 loan, 0 interest, pay it back within the year, and automatically the loan it continues on ad infinitum. This is going to change a lot. And here's a scary thing. You're not going to like to hear this. No one is, because Trump's already gone crazy over the last caravan. Mexico has just issued 10,000 temporary immigrant visas in the last 6 days.
Whoa. Now, is that to divert people from heading to the United States, or is that to facilitate people heading to the United States?
Not to facilitate, but it is partly to divert. The idea is to give them 1 year right to work within Mexico in order to redecide, or continue on if they're heading north. That's fine. They're not going to try to stop them, but they're hoping that many will continue to stay in Mexico, given the full rights of work and access to all services within Mexico.
So Mexico is saying, gee, immigrants revitalize your economy. Immigrants, immigrants do good things. Yes. Immigrants bring skills. Even if it's just manual labor, they bring enthusiasm. Immigrants are good for our country, so we're going to encourage these immigrants. Yes. At the same time that Trump and the United States are just shooting ourselves in the foot. No. Amazing. Nicholas, it's always great to hear from you, and thank you for your thank you, and thank you for your great work helping moderate our chat room on YouTube. It's much appreciated. Nicholas in San Cristobal, Mexico.